Hi there, welcome to Yoga Physio Zone. As you know by now, I'm Sinead and this is the fourth in the four-part series on hypermobility. And today we're going to be doing standing poses. So for you guys with hypermobility, since you will have already watched my previous 4 videos on this, you will know that it's all about stability for you people. It's really about getting the muscles to activate around the joints. So I'm going to go through a number of standing poses and just show you how to adjust those for your particular needs. So we're going to start in Tadasana, which is just the plain ordinary standing pose, okay? But there is so much happening in a good Tadasana. So if you come into standing and then just place your feet kind of just about hip distance apart. Now the main thing is to make sure that your knees aren't kind of rolling in like that. So some people with hypermobility, if you've got poor stability around your hips, you'll find that your knees have a tendency to roll in. So absolutely not. They need to be directly out and just stacked over your ankles like that, okay? So just standing, feet under the ankles, ankles under the knees, and the knees under the hips. And there we go, that's a good start. Now, your feet, you should be feeling the 4 corners of your feet. So under the pads of your big toe, your baby toe, and then the 2 sides of your heel. So you're really kind of pushing into the ground with all 4 corners of your feet equally. Now, what happens for some people who are hypermobile is when they go into a full knee extension, so when they straighten their knee fully, their knees kind of bow backwards. So instead of being straight, they're kind of arcing back. For you guys, it's best if you don't go into a fully extended position. So you don't fully lock out your knee. Don't have your knee locked, but just ever so slightly, not even bent, but just not locked. So you're in a straight position, but you're not locked out. So that makes your muscles work, because otherwise you're just sitting on your ligaments and you're using your ligaments to hold you up, and we don't want that. We want to get your muscles working. So not a fully locked knee position. And then with your hips, so as I said, you're not going to be rolling them in so your knees are going in, but you're not going to be rolling them out either so your knees are splaying apart. They're kind of in the middle. They're kind of holding a middle ground. So that's the next bit you have to think of. Lots to think about. And then the next thing we do, so we've got all this going on, feet and knees positioned, hips kind of in the mid position. And then we're going to just pull our tailbone down ever so slightly. So we're not kind of sticking with our bum out like that, and we're not pulling it in totally like that. We're kind of somewhere in the middle. So we're kind of pulling our tailbone down. And what that does is it kind of pulls me up in the front. So my belly button is activating a little bit there. And let's apply those muscular locks that we've talked about in previous videos. So we're going to suck up on our pelvic floor as if we're sucking up those muscles of our pelvic floor, and that'll pull in our belly button a little bit, pulling it in and under the rib cage, not pulling in 100%, about 50%. So kind of just an activation of that inner core. Lovely. So there's lots going on here. Now we drop the shoulders away from the ears, and don't forget to breathe for this one. Breathing in and out, lots of activation, tucking in the chin just a little bit, splaying the collarbones, and just holding Tadasana there. There is so much muscle activation going on there. Honestly, you could spend months working on Tadasana. It's just really lots happening. So that's a really good starting position. You know, even timing yourself, maybe going, can I hold this for a minute once I get all the things stacked up? Can I hold it for 10 slow, deep breaths? Not as easy as it sounds with all of that going on. And then just giving yourself a little bit of a break. So that is the basic standing pose, Tadasana. And then all the other poses that we do on top of that are kind of going to be variants of all those different cues that I was giving you for your different joints. So we're going to start with a wide-legged pose, which is Warrior 2, Virabhadrasana 2. So you're going to place your front foot facing the front of the mat, the small part of the mat, and then your back foot is kind of going to be facing 90 degrees in the other direction. So you've got the front foot facing the small part of the mat, and this back foot, the foot is coming out so it's facing the long side. So here I am, okay? I'm not going to just lunge down just yet, but just getting that starting position right, placing all the weight on the four corners of my front foot, and then my back foot, you can roll the back foot a little bit so that the weight is on the little toe side. So that back foot is kind of rolling outwards a little bit. And here we go. And I'm going to lunge over that front foot. Now the lunge, it's really important when you're lunging, and I will show you from this position, it's really important when you're lunging that your foot doesn't come in like that. So once again, keep that foot stacked over the ankle, even if it means you can't go into as low a lunge. And if you have knee problems, and many people with hypermobility do, you may not be able to lunge that low. But what I want you to get from this pose is I want you to be working your hips really hard and not your knee. This is actually all about hips. So here you are in a stacked kind of a lunge pose like that. And once again, see about splaying. What you want to do there is the activation is that you're almost trying to widen your knees away from each other. And then pulling that tailbone gently down like we did in the Tadasana. And then sucking up on the pelvic floor like we've done before, activating the Mula Bandha, and then pulling the belly in and up under the ribs. And then dropping the shoulders, lots to do. And remember to breathe. And then getting the arms out straight and strong. And you can look over that front middle finger. Now you can really, like, this looks as if nothing is happening here, but I can tell you there's a huge amount of activation going on in my leg here, in my other leg, particularly up around my hips. My hips, my pelvic floor, my lower belly are working really hard to maintain this pose. And then once you can do the warrior two, you can do all kinds of reverse warriors and side angles, and there's all kinds of other poses. But get this one right first of all. Really get your activation right, because once you can get this right, you can add in, and I said, all loads of different variations, but you will have a really strong base. So that is really working the muscles quite hard when I'm doing that. Now this brings me to the point of what you do when you feel, oh my God, this is so hard and I can't keep going. Well, that's a very good opportunity to use Ujjayi breathing, which is kind of like the Darth Vader breath. So when you're breathing, you kind of just constrict your throat a little bit, and you kind of like Darth Vader, and Google it and just watch some YouTube videos on it. But that will actually settle you down. So when you're getting a little bit head up because you think, oh my God, this is so hard and I'm never going to last, that Ujjayi breath will actually settle down your nervous system, and it will allow you to hold onto your poses a little bit longer. So get practicing on Ujjayi breath, okay? So that is a wide-legged pose. We're now going to do a pose where the legs are actually going in the same direction. So it's kind of a thinner pose, let's say. So like the crescent pose, we're going to do crescent pose. And it's very similar to what we did in kneeling, where we were activating and trying to almost squeeze the legs together or use that activation. We're going to do the same here for crescent. So crescent, it's kind of, we're going to put the front leg forward, and then we're going to put the back leg in the same direction. So if I was to show you from this direction, my hips are facing forwards. If you could imagine two headlights on either of these bones here at the front there, your iliac crest, they're facing that way, okay? So hips are facing forwards, and once again, that front knee is not coming in or going out too far. It is stacked directly over your ankle. So here we go, and the back leg is straight and behind. Now you can do that with the bent knee as well. So there's actually a fair bit of muscle activation in this one here. And once again, it's the hips moving really, really hard to stabilize you. So it's the same thing as before. You want to keep the knee directly under the ankle. You want to almost, the activation is almost like you're trying to squeeze your thighs together, but you're not actually bringing them together. It's almost like you're trying to squeeze them together. You are sucking up the pelvic floor, pulling the belly in and under the rib cage. And here we are, really, really working those leg muscles really, really strongly, and I can really feel muscle activation happening there. And again, you can use your ujjayi breath if you feel, yeah, I'm getting a little bit head up here, or my heart rate is going a little bit too high, or I'm losing control of my breath. That's where your ujjayi comes in. So practice this without any arm movement, and then when you feel, yeah, I got this, I think I can do it, you can do all kinds of fancy things like lifting the arms and looking up, and then trying to stabilize, because that adds in an extra kind of instability there, and that's an extra thing for you guys to work on. So you can really make these standing poses work for you in terms of stability. There is so much muscle activation going on when I'm doing that, and honestly, it's not funny. Okay. And of course, practice these on both legs. So let one leg be the front leg, and then on the next go switch it around, so you're going the opposite direction. So each leg gets a chance. You can see I'm actually out of breath just from holding that position. So I'm probably not as fit as I should be, but anyway, but you'll get what I mean when you start doing these. And I suppose for people with hypermobility, it's the single leg poses that really, really challenge your stability. And because you guys do not have the strongest, tautest ligaments that kind of stiffer people do, you really, really can find these single leg poses quite challenging. So I would advise you not to do this on a mat. Do this on the floor, so you've good steady floor under you. And if you need to hold on to a wall or something as well, do that. I'll push that out of the way so you can still see me. So we're on the floor, and we're just going to do a standing. So I suppose tree pose is the obvious one. So you're going to just, like we did before, say, let's say I'm going to stand on my right leg. If you stand on your right leg and just have the left one there, and just get everything activated before you do any lift of this leg. So remember when we were in Tadasana, we were pushing into the ground with that each leg. So we're going to do it with our standing leg now, our right leg. I'm going to push into the ground. Not going to have my knee on a full lock, but it's just going to be unlocked. I'm going to have my thigh neither rolling in or rolling out. It's somewhere in the middle. I'm going to pull down on my tailbone. I'm going to pull up on the pelvic floor, sucking up the pelvic floor, suck in the belly and pulling it in under the rib cage like that. Shoulders down and relax, neck tuck in. Here I go, I am ready. And only then, when I think, yeah, I think I've got that, pulling up on my kneecap as well, and then you can see about lifting that leg up, okay? And then when you think, yeah, that's fine, you can do something like turn it into a nice tree pose and just holding that position. And again, you can get a timer and time yourself. And then when you think, yeah, I'm pretty good at that, you can add in things like the arms overhead. And then if you really want to be fancy, I'm going to fall now when I do this. Look towards the ceiling like that. Woo, I told you I'd fall. That was nerves. So basically, but those are all the things that can challenge you. And this is a really good one to practice, because when you are doing more advanced poses, there are all kinds of poses where you're standing on one leg, for example, and you're lifting the knee and looking out, or you can be, lifting the leg and kicking it out straight. There's all kinds of fantastic and wonderful poses, that you hopefully will be able to do, but you really need to get the standing on the one leg really, really good before you can add in all those other fancy ones. So get working on those. So there's loads there for you guys to work on. I'll just give one last one to finish with, just because it's another good one for muscle activation, and it's goddess pose. So you stand on this one with the legs wide, and then what you want to do is you want your toes are facing out and your heels are facing in, and then you're just going to lunge down into it, and your knee is going over your foot on the right and your knee is going over your foot on the left. And if you need to adjust so that you're further apart, or if you need to come closer, so that will allow your knee to go in the right direction, directly under, or should I say over your ankle, that's what you do. But don't have the knees coming in like that, okay? So you're activating your bum muscles, your deep hip rotators, what you're trying to do is splay the knees apart. And once again, you're tucking, bring your tailbone down towards the ground, pulling up on those locks, those muscular locks, sucking up the pelvic floor and the belly, and then bringing the arms out wide. and there is a heap of muscle activation going on there. So loads and loads and loads to work on with just those 5 standing poses. And they're the basis for just about every other standing pose. So yeah, get working on it, and who knows, we might see each other for another little hypermobility series at another date. Anyway, best of luck with all of those, and yeah, keep me posted how you go.